will be even better.
So now, time for a little motivation. I want you to pause for a second and think deeply about what we are going to talk about over the next few minutes. Coming up this weekend, on the 8th of April, is the 2017 Freedom Day Swim, where extreme swimmers from all over the world come to Cape Town to cross the treacherous water between Big Bay and Robben Island, considered to be the Mount Everest of swimming. And this year, Doctors Without Borders are using the event to raise much-needed critical awareness for refugees, not only here in South Africa, but also the crisis that is currently playing out in the Mediterranean Sea. We're joined by Sarah Jane Steele from MSF, along with Arafat Gatabazi, who is a refugee who has tasted this side of life. He is joining us from the DRC, now turned extreme swimmer as well. And they're both going to be taking part in this year's event. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So great to have you here. Arafat, I'm going to start with you. How did the love of swimming first kick in, and extreme swimming at that?
Well, when I started swimming, I used swimming as a process of healing due to my past. And I got to love the challenge of swimming in the cold water. The way, when you're swimming in the cold, it breaks down your mind into pieces, forcing you to have negative thoughts, to give up your swim. And it's like, when you're not mentally prepared, you will never be able to manage the swim. So it's like mind over your body.
Dude, I had to swim in this little section of ocean yesterday for about 2 meters, and I was terrified, absolutely terrified. I don't know how you wrap your head around that, but I certainly understand that mental element. This is playing out on a much bigger scale, and Sarah, this is an opportunity to do something truly groundbreaking. Why are you guys involved with this year's event? What do you want to get across?
I think we want to raise a bit of awareness about migration. It's something that's coming into play, quite broadly speaking, globally.
Yeah.
I think the easiest tie for everyone to think about is what's happening in the Mediterranean Sea. We're going to be on a boat, short trip, as compared to the long trip faced by some.
Far less treacherous as well.
Far less treacherous. And I think in terms of the Med Sea, the president of Médecins Sans Frontières Italy summed it up best when he said the Mediterranean Sea is actually turning into a mass grave.
Yeah.
On the one hand, you have a lot of people who are fleeing several different crises, wars in region. On the other hand, you have increasingly restrictive border policies within the European Union. Together, these sort of join to create a situation where hundreds of thousands of migrants try to cross the Mediterranean Sea every year in order to reach safety.
And many of them children.
Many of them children. And so, in response to this crisis, Médecins Sans Frontières has sought to try and save lives primarily through search and rescue operations. We're not so naive as to think that this is a long-term solution. The long-term solution is to have better ways for people to seek safety, but in the short term, it's the only concrete way to try and save lives.
Right now, yeah.
In parallel, we have operations on the land in Italy to try and ensure that people have continuity of care and can be referred to the proper medical and legal services. And in conjunction to our medical activities, we're actually advocating for safe passage. Now, don't be fooled by our name, Doctors Without Borders. We're not suggesting that there should be no borders and there should be no border control. We're just suggesting that people have the right to safe passage as they flee from really horrible circumstances.
I'm going to ask you, and I know, I mean, just literally seconds to summate your incredible journey, but Arafat, what was it like being a refugee for you to motivate people to get involved now? What was that process of you talk about a process of healing, but talk us through what your journey was like finding your way to South Africa.
Well, this is something which is close to me, and I don't think a lot of people understand what it is like to feel or being a refugee. Because you run away from your country not because you want to. And when you come to a country where you're seeking for safety, people welcome you with violence, and they don't know that you're running away from the violence. And I don't think anyone deserves to be a refugee. And if, as long as there's war in this world, no one is immune to being a refugee. So I think people should treat each other fairly and kind.
You know, the reality is we belong to a global village at the moment, and we need to express that. And you can do it online. Hashtag swim to save a life. We'll put all of the details of how people can get behind what you guys are doing. I'm in awe. I think you're ridiculous swimming that stretch. But all the best of luck, guys. You're doing some amazing work. Lovely to connect with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, awesome stuff. Well, still to come on your Feel Good Breakfast Show. We're taking a look at the top South African local tracks currently just ripping up the airwaves.
Yeah, and then also after a stunning performance and that we all enjoyed so much, Khaki King back in our Feel Good studio.
Mr. Stokes, welcome to Mornings with Tila M.